That is a lot of information, great information, and we have got some very good questions for you coming. A lot of these are generic to Verisum, but I do have one that was very specific to the case study that I wanted to ask. It was from Sergio, and Sergio asked, which mechanisms were put in place to ensure that the processes are followed?
Would you like me to take that one, Karen?
Yes,
or Lisa?
please.
Okay,
yes,
could you repeat the question for me?
Yes. Which mechanisms were put in place to ensure that the processes are followed?
Okay, right. Well, bearing in mind that Verisum is new to a lot of organisations and we are a small company.
It's 17 hours.
Oh, sorry about that. That's my reminder to keep my time on track. It's a quite easy question for me to answer because we have regular informal reviews to make sure that everything is in place and that we haven't actually buried away. We have the service management principles were discussed and agreed by everybody at the C level. So when I actually go through my governance gates, I know I've got the confidence that the questions I'm asking about, are you guys following the process or not, are covered by my governance gates. So I think that the easiest way for me to answer that is those three very simple governance gates I put in place. I put them in place at I believe the right time to make sure things are still, we are still working to the guardrails, as Claire calls them. And B, I know that those governance gates have got the approval of the senior stakeholders within the company. So the answer to that is, in a small, flexible, dynamic company, the governance gates are the measures you need to keep yourselves on track.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Yes. And Donna, and Sergio says thanks also, so that answered his question as well. Donna has a question. First of all, she said, awesome presentation, Claire and Steve. And she's asking, what is the time frame for the starter kit from IFDC? Does anybody know?
Steve, I'm not sure if you know.
I don't know yet. I know it is in its very early days because one element of the starter kit is planned to be this template with my model as an example of how to complete the template. It's in its very early days, but I will see if I can find out and get the message out to the community through LinkedIn. So if you want to throw that one at me, Claire, I'll get hold of Suzanne or somebody after this, and I'll see if I can get a message on LinkedIn that says when they believe the first version of the starter kit may be available, okay? Everyone still there?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I'm sure Claire's in agreement. I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Simone has a question. Yeah. Simone has a question. She's saying, in your experience, what are the key phrases, words, tips, and/or techniques for involving departments across the organization to be part of the Verisum conversation?
So,
who would like to?
I'll take this one. I think so. This I think it's really approaching this in the same way as you would kind of any consultancy assignment, which is to find out where does it hurt in the organization at the moment, so where are the departments within the organization experiencing frustration, delays, friction, and they're the kind of the key points to start the Verisum conversation. Because what we talk about this concept of shadow IT, and quite often that's an expression of frustration from a business department that they don't feel like they're getting access to the IT capabilities that they need. So I think to get that conversation started, find the pain points within the organisation, but also kind of get that understanding of the organisation's strategy as well, and look at how digital products and services are going to be part of that, because there's a huge significance there. And looking at the results from the poll, for the vast majority of organisations, if they've not already embarked on some kind of digital transformation planning, it's something that they're thinking about. So that's a good kind of lever to get to use to start that conversation as well.
Thank you, Claire. And Josephine just had a comment. She said, "Thank you so much. I have learned a lot about Verisum today." So she appreciates all your help today with that.
Thank you for
From
your
both of you.
feedback.
And Donald is looking to understand Verisum. He's saying, is it a replacement for ITIL? Is it complementary guidance? Is it rebranding of same terminology, or something totally different?
As an ex-ITIL trainer, Claire, do you want me to take that one?
Go on, Steve, you go for it.
Okay, what a lovely question. Yeah, when I first read into Verisum, one of my initial questions was, oops, I hope they're not looking to replace ITIL, because although I knew ITIL was about 8 to 10 years out of date, I also knew the refresh was on the way, because I got involved in the refresh in some very early days with a paper I wrote. The purpose of this is not to replace ITIL. Verisum is not a new methodology. Verisum is an approach which says use the best of your existing methodologies. So if the best way you can find to support your customers is through an ITIL-based support model, and having been doing that for 25 years, I would agree that is the best. No, all you need to do is see what comes out of the ITIL refresh and implement the refreshed ITIL support model as a complement, as an accompaniment to your development, your marketing, and your other techniques. So it is no way attempting to replace ITIL, rather it's attempting to incorporate ITIL in more of an end-to-end approach to service management.
Yeah, and I think I would just add to that, because I I kind of started working with ITIL maybe, God, it's been getting on for 20 years ago now. And if you kind of think back even sort of 10 years ago, ITIL was pretty much the only game in town. We weren't talking about DevOps and Agile and Lean IT at the time, but the landscape has changed now, and there is a lot more complexity. So what Verisum is trying to do is certainly not replace ITIL, but look at our products and services from that higher organizational perspective and think, yes, we've got these ITIL processes and they're working well, but how are they interfacing with what our DevOps teams are doing or our Agile developers are doing? So Steve's absolutely right. It's definitely not a replacement for ITIL. We are certainly not trying to kind of rule out the investment that organisations have made in ITIL over the years, but we're just looking at these things from a different level and a different perspective, and ITIL is then a small part of that value chain.
Yeah, good answer, thank you.
Thank you both. And I have a question that came in from Scott, and it also came in from Paramount. And what they're looking to do is to understand the future of Verisum and how the new version of ITIL fits into Verisum.
Okay, so I'll take that one if that's all right, Steve.
Please do.
So the like Steve said, the E in Verisum is for evolving. So as management practices change and evolve, your management mesh will evolve. And that's one of the nice things about Verisum, is it is so adaptable. You know, 5 years ago, we hadn't really heard of DevOps. Tomorrow, there might be a new DevOps that appears. And again, that just gets integrated into the management mesh if it adds value. Now, we don't have much information. You know, Axelos haven't released much information yet about the new version of ITIL, so it's kind of difficult to say what it looks like. What we are hearing is it's about how we integrate ITIL with DevOps and agile thinking. So maybe it's kind of a section of the management mesh, but it does sound like it's still going to be very kind of IT focused. Whereas again with Verisum, we're looking from that organizational perspective and involving all of our capabilities. So, you know, I'm excited to see the new version of ITIL, just like everybody is, I think. But I think from a Verisum perspective, it will just be a case of analysing it, looking at how it meets your organisation's goals, and then integrating it into your management mesh if it's appropriate.
Claire, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question from Butch, and he's asking, is a template of the management mesh available on any website?
Yeah, I'm not actually sure. sure on that one. The mesh is definitely in the books and the ebooks if you have access to those. I don't think there is a template actually on the Verism website. I'm just typing very quickly and having a look now. But it's actually quite a nice idea to have a template that people can download and then tailor for themselves. So what I'll do is I'll make a note and I'll send that suggestion back to IFDC to see if they can actually put that up as a download.
That is a good question, Claire, because as an early adopter, one of the things I tried to do was find one. I couldn't.
Yeah.
So we redrew our own one. A, because I couldn't find the template, and B, because I wanted to practice in the drawing tool I was using at the time. So I couldn't find one, so I drew my own.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. So I'll pass that back to IFDC and see if we can get that done.
And Butch, please, I'll make sure you get a copy of that as soon as it's available. And it is a great suggestion. Thank you.
And Brad is saying that he sees a number of books and guides on the Verism.global website, and which is the official Verism Volume 1 Verism book?
So the official book is called Verism, A Service Management Approach for the Digital Age, but there is also a pocket book if you just want kind of a really quick guide, which is a sort of a smaller version of that book. And there's a couple of study guides that have been published as well, but the full book is Verism, A Service Management Approach for the Digital Age. And the second book that's going to be published in about 6 weeks, that's going to be called Verism Unwrapped and Applied.
Thank you. Scott has a question. He was trying to purchase the Verism book from Van Haren, and he had a little bit of difficulty, and he was asking if on the next book that's being published, is it through Van Haren or there'll be multiple channels?
The books are available through Amazon as well, but it's case sensitive when you type it into Amazon, so you do need the capital V and the capital S and M, because I think if you put Verism all lowercase, it tries to sell you coffee, I think it was that I was finding. But they are available through Amazon as well.
Oh, great. Okay. And those are all the questions that I have at the moment. So if anybody else has any other questions, now's the time to put them in here. And again, I just want to thank you both for taking the time to take us through this today, through Verism and through the case study, Steve. I mean, it was really very informative for us and a lot of great information and very digestible information for us. So we really appreciate that. Oh,
thank you for hosting us.
A few more questions. Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure as well. It's been very interesting being part of Verism and actually presenting this. I do enjoy trying to get the message out and help other people. So if anybody gets any hints or ideas from this, I'm more than happy. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask you, we have a question that just came in from Andrew, and Andrew wants to know, does the Unwrapped and Applied book to be released in a few weeks align with the professional exam or a practitioner exam?
The Unwrapped and Applied book contains source material for the professional level training course and also for the leader level training course, which will be the third one to come out.
Okay, thank you. And Sergio has another question on the implementation. How was the success of the initiative measured? Which indicators were used and what were the results?
I think that's one for you, Steve.
I knew you were going to say that. That is a very good question. That is something we have been discussing recently. And because we are still maturing our model, we're still working on a number of KPIs and performance metrics. One of them is going to be about the reduced amount of time it takes us to transition a new customer and sign them off. That will be one of our measures, but that's a question that I haven't fully got an answer to yet, I'm afraid. But just like I said about the starter kit, when I've worked out the best way to measure this, and obviously the measures I put in place will be specific to how I've implemented it in my working environment. Once those are mature enough, I will share them through LinkedIn and various other forums as well.
Yeah, I'll just add to that because we've got another early adopter who is a financial organisation, and they weren't actually ready with their case study in time for the book, but they're still working on that now, and that'll come as a white paper. And they are piloting Verism on a service that they sell to international customers, because what they're finding with that service is each time they do it, the salespeople sell something unique, and then there's a scramble to try and actually create and deliver that. So each time it's been done in a completely different way. It's not repeatable. It's generating a lot of waste. So they're actually using the Verism model to try and put together the building blocks for a repeatable process. And just like Steve was saying, they are going to be looking for reductions in waste and duplication, better customer satisfaction, better ability to measure customer satisfaction. So it's kind of a similar thinking there.
That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Claire. Right now, those are all the questions that I have, but I do have a lot of accolades for you both.
Oh, thank you
so much. Extremely informative, great presentation. I learned a lot. So thank you so much for that, both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And once again, I'd just like to remind everyone that the next webinar is scheduled for Thursday, September 20th, when DJ Schleen, DevSecOps Evangelist and Security Architect from Aetna, joins us with his presentation, Automating Security Controls with DevSecOps. And we'll send you an invitation for the next webinar and look forward to having you join us. And as you log out, can you please just take a minute to complete the post-webinar survey? This survey gives you the opportunity to request any topics you'd like to see presented in the future. And your feedback is very important to us for our continual service improvement process. And it's only 2 questions, so it's really easy. So again, thank you all for joining us. Thank you again, Claire. Thank you again, Steve. And be sure to follow us on Twitter.